We begin tonight with a developing story out of Stevens County where volunteers have been working around the clock to save dozens of dogs from deplorable conditions. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Nadine Woodward. We first learned of the story late last night as 3 different agencies were working to save those dogs. KXLY4's Jack Ferris working for you. And Jack, just what kind of conditions were these dogs living in and what's their future now?
Well, you said it, Nadine. Everyone tells me deplorable. I'm here with Bethany and Amanda? Shannon. I was close. Louise and Larry here. And blood, mud, feces, pretty much the worst case scenario you can imagine. These guys were cut from chains like the one you see here. This was actually bolt cutters, Nadine, were used to cut these guys free. Pretty remarkable. And if you can believe it or not, last night was the first night pretty much all of these dogs spent indoors.
When we first drove up, you're going up a hill and there is a couple dogs, and then you see more dogs, and you see dogs chained to trees. They lived out there their whole lives like that. There were a mom and 2 5-week-old puppies that were in an enclosure that had a blue tarp over it, that when I stepped in, it was literally the most deplorable conditions and smell that you could possibly imagine. You step down and your whole shoe just ends up to almost mid-shin of feces.
Over the last day and a half, Jamie McAtee and her organization, Rescue for All, has been working with Spokane's Humane Evacuation Animal Rescue Team, or HART, to get these roughly 40 dogs to safety. A tremendous task they wouldn't be able to execute without help from the Stevens County Sheriff's Office.
We have received calls. We had a deputy respond. 2 deputies responded 2 nights ago. When they realized what the situation entailed, they contacted me, as I've done some rescues of smaller groups before. We went back to the property last night. The owners were cooperative and wanted the best for their dogs, and they assisted us in getting as many as we could loaded before we lost daylight.
Because it was clear the owners had provided food and water for the dogs, they will face no charges, despite the reportedly horrendous living conditions. Under Stevens County law, anyone can have up to 25 breeding pairs, totaling 50 dogs, and puppies under 6 months don't count.
Without the owners working with us in this situation, our hands would have been tied. There was no criminal infractions. There was no violations of RCW from the technical law standpoint. They did have food.
While no laws were violated, Stevens County severely lacks the resources to handle so many displaced dogs, so they're turning to the public for help.
Lightweight blankets, towels, rags, cleaning supplies, people to donate food, dog food. We're not picky at this point. Anything is better than what they were eating. And then we also need people that have knowledge of other organizations that we can get these dogs into that are reputable organizations, because this is too much for us to take on.
So Nadine, as you can imagine, none of these dogs really had names, so all the great volunteers here are offering up. I have one who we just named about 10 minutes ago, right guys? It's Clayton, after the fairgrounds that these guys are being temporarily hosted. They're overwhelmed with all these dogs, but the love and support you feel here is overwhelming in and of itself, Nadine. And as you heard, they need a lot of help.
Jack, is that a black lab puppy?
It certainly is. You know your dogs, Nadine.
I want that dog.
Well, I will tell you this.
Are they ready for adoption?
Yeah, there's a bit of a triage thing they got to go through to make sure all these dogs are healthy and they're social. But I think our producer, Rachel, won't like me telling this on live TV, but dogs like Clayton here are going to go pretty fast. They are up for adoption.
Rachel and I both are in the dog market right now, so we're fighting over dogs as we speak. All right, thanks a lot, Jack. Boy, they do need a lot of help out.